have I been centered this whole time? Was a law commercial. We actually lit a whole courtroom. Okay, so here's where it gets a little more interesting.
The Obsessive DP.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Obsessive DP. Again, I'm Ryan. This is the place to come to if you want to learn about high-end, industry standard, high-quality cinematography like what you see on a set. A movie set, TV set, ouch. Hit my C-stand. Shh. What you see in high-end TV shows, movies, etc. Let's just jump in because you came here to learn. What we're going to talk about today is manicuring the lighting so it looks like it's daylight all day long. So let's say there's a window in your scene and it's 8 p.m. at night. Unless you're in like Alaska or some other crazy state, it's gonna be dark outside. What if you need to shoot a daytime scene while it's night? Well, there's many ways to do that. This is something that I had no idea how to do. This is why we started this channel, because years back, starting my DP career, I looked far and wide on the internet for this exact thing, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. There was no tutorial on how to make it look like daylight all night long. So that's what we're gonna do for you here today. Yeah, this is actually the shot right here. It was this shot here that I didn't know what to do with this window. So it's super interesting. This window is actually, sorry, I had some chicken nuggies. So it's actually this window here. We actually shot this spot at the office of the toy company. So they actually had a warehouse right outside this window here. So it was night, it was basically nighttime all day long because you're always looking into a warehouse. So we had to create our own daylight. So how did we do that, you may ask? Well, this is how we did it. We grabbed some Lee 250. So a roll of Lee 250 right here. Just a roll, you roll it on the windows. I wanted to do it on the outside because it's easier to do on the outside. It looks better because you still see the lines of the window, but it was like 25 feet up and I didn't have a scissor lift. So what we did, we put on the inside, which you have to tape it real tight if you still want to see the lines, the window panes. Lee 250 on the inside, and then we had a Mole Richardson Fresnel on the outside. This is what it looked like, folks. The Mole Richardson Tenaire LED right there. This is the big Mama Jama. This LED takes an entire outlet. It's huge. You can't tell from this. The ballast is huge. It's huge. It creates a great light. What I learned after this though is actually I didn't use this right. This light is a Fresnel. It's not really normal to shoot a Fresnel into diffusion because the Fresnel actually cuts out some of the light. The Fresnel actually has a softener already on it. Makes it look softened and nice. So what I should have done was probably just get an M18, some kind of PAR light that is open face, so you're not cutting down any of the light and you actually get more light because of that. But this totally worked. So this is the inside of the warehouse. We just shot it up. We didn't even have a stand that was high enough, but we just shot it into the window. You could see the panes obviously because you can actually see the 250 on the inside, but it looked great. What really sells this, guys, is shears. Just normal shears you can get at Walmart. It really makes it look like it's just daylight outside. Now, it's a little cheesy and cheap because it's just a clean white slate. You know, it's always nice if you're manicuring these things for a more high-end commercial that you maybe get a little bit of tree out there, you get a little bit of green, like green grass shining in, or some sort of texture because it's literally just blown out. We just blew it out of the sensor. Let's stop all the way down and see if anything comes back. Not really. You can kind of see one of the window panes here, but it's really blown. Oh, this one you can see the window pane, so let's see what happens if we stop down. Yeah, you can actually see the lower side is brighter, which is not really natural, but that's just the way our light was shooting up there. It totally worked. It totally sold as a window, even though it was shining into just a dark warehouse, and it looked great. What did happen though, because that took the whole circuit, we accidentally plugged in the Fresnel on the same circuit as the microwave, so it popped off a few times throughout the day as people use the microwave, so we had to just tape the microwave off so no one used it. That's what you run into when you don't have a generator. Let's go on to another example. Our second example is a bathroom scene. Brushing their teeth, breakfast, right? You want it to be breakfast, you want it to look really bright outside. This was actually shot at about 9 p.m. I believe. It was super dark. I remember people walking in. We dealt with an agency here that had a lot of people learning production, so a lot of people hadn't been on set before, and I remember them walking into the bathroom being like, oh, it kind of messes up your mind a little bit when it's 9 p.m. You look outside a window and it's just daylight shooting through. So on this one we had a sky panel an S60. This was supposed to be shot at about 3 p.m., but our day just got crazy. It got pushed back. We threw up a 6x half grid here. So this is just half grid. I actually like the little bit of green you can see out there. I don't know what that is, honestly, but I feel like that looks kind of more natural. Like, oh, I bet it might be the reflection of this plant. I really don't know what that is, but look, it's a little more of a gradient. It's a little more interesting. I think it looks better than the previous example. We just got lucky here because we didn't have the tools to do this. We didn't know that we were going to have to do this, but looks good. It really sells. Really sells as morning time. Next, this one here, again, shot at about 9 p.m. This was a really quick shoot, but it totally sells. All these windows are selling. A way to do this better, guys, and you'll see in the next example. The next example is the big one. There's always a way to do this better, right? You can see this is actually sunlight. This is actually about sunset. You can see it's yellow. CTS is the way to achieve this. Just a roll of CTS over the light. If we put CTS over this light, the other light, it would have matched this one. This is actually sunlight mixed with our lights. And then this is probably 9 p.m. Just a sky panel here, and then we had 2 Mole Richardson Fresnels over here and here. You can see the setup here. This is outside, obviously nighttime, blowing up those windows with diffusion over them so it just blooms as white. It's not the best way to do this. This works if you have windows like this really well because they already have something blocking the window, so it's not just a big white wall, because that's not totally natural. That's what happens if you don't expose correctly or if you have a camera with really low dynamic range. That's the natural result. It's just a white window. You don't really want that in cinematic video, but tastefully, totally works. Here's the big one. This one here was a law commercial. We actually lit a whole courtroom. Okay, so here's where it gets a little more interesting. Outside of these windows, we have 3 M18s blowing up 12x12 half grids. So what you want to do is you actually don't want to put the half grid on the window. If you put the half grid on the window, you can't make any interesting light patterns because the half grid just softens it and you just get blooming like the other examples. It just bloomed out of the window. But look at what this is doing. This is doing something totally different. This is casting these hard lines from the blinds onto our scene. Look how much better that looks. You can even see it here in her hair. Yeah, you can see it here. See how it's blocked here. You could see it on the wall. You can see it on the window frame. So actually how we accomplished this, here, it's just bloomed. This, we don't have a hard Fresnel. So we actually had 3 M18s pounding into 12x away from the window, and then as we switched sides, we moved Mole Richardson Fresnel LEDs to make these hard lines. So if you back it, here's the window. If you back your diffusion off the window, you're shooting into the diffusion here, you can actually get in with the other hard light. You don't want hard light into your scene onto your people, but you do want hard light on certain surfaces where the design looks great and natural. Here the design looks great and natural, right? But we wouldn't want this hard light on our people because it would just make them look bad. We actually had to have 2 lights per window. One just to bloom out that half grid, and another one to make these hard lines. And then whenever we shifted throughout the room, we had to move the Fresnels to the other side of the window to light that other side because we didn't get 3 lights per window. The only way we could have made this better, I feel like this looks so good. Look at the faces, look at the hair, look at everything here. I think all our people in the audience look amazing. I think Jimmy here looks good. He has a nice hard side. The windows just lighting him up, making him look so powerful. But if you look really closely here, you see that the lines are at this angle, the lines go up to this angle. Why does that happen? Because our light was actually too close to the window. The sun doesn't do that. The sun only goes one direction all the way up. The fact that our compass is moving a bit makes it look a little bit fake because our light was a little too close to the window. The reason that happened is we were actually dealing with a fire lane that we couldn't have any light stands in, so we only had specific spots. So this is a studio, this is not a courtroom. I should have said that at the outset. I'll probably add it in. So this courtroom scene was shot in a studio. You've seen it on probably 10 other commercials. You didn't realize it, 10 other TV shows. It's very popular because you actually can't film in a courtroom, it's illegal. And they made a very wise business decision to make multiple courtrooms in this studio complex. But if we were able to pull those Fresnels back, we would have had just straight lines, just like the sun. The sun's 93 million miles away. If it were closer, you might have those lines in the shadow that vary based on the beam angle. Since it's so far away, we make straight shadows all the way up the blinds. You can tell the cinematographer wasn't paying attention if the shadows of the blinds are doing this as you go up and down. Have I been centered this whole time? We're on a weird angle. Sorry guys, the van's on a weird angle. How do you like this blue light? Comment below. We're still working on the set, obviously. It's changing every week, but we'll get something solid. All right, you guys have probably seen this already, but this is another time that we shot an M18 through a half grid, through a window. It was in our scene the whole time and it played on our characters beautifully. Wrapped their face because we actually used that side to key as well from a different M18 booklight. Bloomed beautifully. We made sure the sun never hit the window so that it stayed the same. We could have shot here at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. It would have looked exactly the same as it does here. Just another example, you know, to recap, you need a high-powered light, you need to make sure the sun never hits your window, you need to put nice diffusion, and then also shears. If you put shears, it also looks great. Try to make a little bit of a gradient, a little bit of a green, a little bit of tree branch shadows. Those are things we didn't incorporate in these, but it's something you can incorporate moving forward. Makes it look a little more natural, makes it look a little more real, a little more cinematic. We're looking for those real, raw, cinematic visuals as DPs. You know, it's a constant struggle to get there. It takes a lot of training, a lot of learning. I hope you guys are learning along the way. I'm learning as well. I wanted to share my knowledge because, I mean, I couldn't find this stuff on the internet when I was looking, so that's why we're building this. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Keep coming back for more. I just froze. Stay obsessed.